Hello, and welcome to another episode of If I Were in a Sealed Room with 3DS, I'd recap Nintendo Direct. I'm joined here with Julian,
Hello there.
and we're here pretty much to recap all the big news from Nintendo's recent little press conference they had, Nintendo Direct. And just quickly, Julian, without going too in depth, what were your big highlights of the whole presentation?
Um, for me, pretty much the new firmware that's to be released for it, and new Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah, just to touch on the firmware really quickly, what it's basically adding was folders. The eShop got updated; it's a little nicer, and it also is allowing you to have games get updates. Like they're fixing the glitches in Mario Kart 7, and I know Kingdom Hearts 3D is gonna get a patch. It had a bug in it, so all good news all around. And speaking of new content, they announced two Pokemon games. Well, not really games, they were more like companion apps to Black and White 2. First of which is Pokemon R Searcher, which is pretty much like Face Raiders, but you capture like Pokemon, and that's going to be 300 yen when it comes out. It's a downloadable game. And what's your impressions on that, Julian?
Um, I'm not really big on the Pokemon series, so I don't really have an opinion on it.
Yeah, it doesn't look very good, but I mean, you probably can get some rare Pokemon in it, and for 300 points, it's a decent, because you can transfer the Pokemon from this game you capture to your Black and White. So I mean, that's like the only real purpose I can see it. It doesn't look like a good standalone game, but as a companion app, it's alright. And the other one is Pokédex 3D Pro, which I think is like 10,000 or 10,000? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, 10,000 yen. Kind of think with the conversion rates and everything. That's about $10. And it'll have all the Pokemon. It's like the Pokédex 3D, but with all of them. And I think it's a little overpriced, but probably end up buying it. Hopefully it won't be $10 in America. Hopefully it's like 5 or 6. I can deal with that. But so all the 3D models and everything. And Julian, you don't really have a take on it, do you? Other than
I unfortunately do not.
okay, moving on to the new firmware. As I said, it has updates, and I've updated my 3DS, and I've been enjoying it so far. The eShop's a lot nicer to browse. They really streamlined the process even more. That's really nice. And also the folders, you can have up to 60 folders, and they hold a bunch of you can put games, and it's a lot nicer because it's my whole 3DS menu is a lot more organized. And I don't have all these random games. I can just put a folder for all my VC games, a folder for my 3D classics, a folder for my DSiWare, a folder for my 3D trailers. It's just so much nicer. And what's your most what are you looking forward to in this new firmware?
Pretty much the fact that it's now giving games the ability to be patched and add content into them. I feel like Nintendo's finally exploring deeper online options for games. I know DLC and stuff like that's very frowned upon. I'm just mainly more excited for the fact of patches and stuff like that. So, games that, like Kingdom Hearts with the game-breaking bug that it has, they won't have to suffer that unfortunate fate of being unplayable. The folder searching, it seems like a very good idea for those who have a lot of eShop stuff. And just, of course, your menus get very cluttered. I personally wouldn't see myself using it because I really don't download anything from the eShop or anything like that. So, but for everyone else who does have used their 3DS for everything, music and stuff, it seems like a pretty good deal. And I haven't downloaded it personally myself, but from what I've seen with the new eShop interface, as Tyler stated, it is a lot more cleaner. Just everything is more easily accessible, and it appears to be a lot less clunky than what it was before. So once again, another step in the right direction regarding Nintendo's online service. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, it seems like they're really, they have a renewed sense for online play, and they've really fixed a lot of their wrongs with the 3DS, and I think they'll continue to do that with the Wii U, because, they said they were going to, add online profiles for the Wii U, and it just seems like they're getting more into the online race than they have in previous generations. And so, another game that got a lot of coverage from Nintendo Direct was Epic Mickey Power of Illusion. It's a sequel to a Mickey Mouse game for the Genesis, the Castle of Illusion. And, Julian, I heard you've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've actually missed out on the original Epic Mickey on the Nintendo Wii. So when I heard that a sequel or quote unquote spiritual successor to it would be possibly coming to the 3DS, I was pretty excited about that. Of course, here it is. It has been announced, but it is a direct sequel to, as I said, the Genesis game, not the one on the Wii. I'm actually pretty hyped for it because I'm in love with the classical sprite style it's using. It looks very clean. The art direction is fantastic. A lot of people are like, oh, the 3DS can do better than that or whatnot, but those who appreciate the more old school game type style, it looks like it'll really suit your needs. Besides that, from the gameplay videos, it doesn't really show anything that much to comment on that we don't already know about. Basic platformer, you can use the stylus with the brush to make platforms disappear, reappear, all that kind of good stuff. Besides all that, I am pretty hyped for the game.
Yeah, and the game just looks gorgeous. I mean, the sprites just look great, and it showed off a couple other Disney universes in it. Had the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. It had Peter Pan and Captain Hook. So it looks like Mickey's going to be traveling and visiting some people from the Disney mythos and such not. And it looked really good. Also, the big reveal of the whole thing was definitely New Super Mario Bros. 2. It wasn't totally unexpected, because earlier this year they did announce that they were making a 2D Mario game for the 3DS to come out, so you knew how to get announced in some details. But they showed it off at the end of Nintendo Direct. They just showed 4 screens, no gameplay footage. But the screens really looked good in my opinion. One of them showed the raccoon tail, which has me excited. Hopefully, we'll be able to fly and stuff, so that's gonna be awesome. Looks great. And one of the screens actually, it looks like there were multiple planes that you could go on. So, that has me really excited, because one thing that Mutant Mudds really showed off was that multiple planes and playing on depth with the 3D just looks phenomenal. So, I'm really excited for New Super Mario Bros. 2. It just looks great. Julian, what's your thoughts on it?
I have a lot of thoughts on it. Particularly, a lot of you probably know from the previous podcast, I was ragging on the new Super Mario Brothers series. I was disappointed because I was expecting something more original. Something probably more along the lines of a new Super Mario World, or just by original, I mean, like when Yoshi's Island DS came out on the DS, it was a original sequel to an older game from forever ago. And, it just added stuff to it. Like I said before, one of my biggest gripes with the game is that with the screenshots we have from it, the tile sets are pretty much directly ripped from the Wii version, which gave me the worst case of deja vu. I just stared at it and thought to myself, this is seriously the best you could do. They added the P-meter again, the Tanuki tail. Oh goody, we've had that in Mario 3D Land. That's fantastic.
But we can fly. Fly!
We can fly, but I'd rather fly with a cape. But that's besides the point. It's just like I've said before, my main gripe is that it's just so copy and paste from what's already been done before in the other new Super Mario Brothers games. I'm pretty sure they're gonna add stuff, like you said, the depth between the layers and stuff like that and whatnot, but I wish it would look more original. Such as, we see another snow level, we see more desert, we see more grassland. Okay, that's fantastic, but can we mix this up a bit? How about we take the toy level from Super Mario Galaxy and put it in there? How about we have, there's just so many other areas they could explore, but yet what they've shown us is just the same generic stuff we've already seen before. And quite frankly, it just gives me a headache thinking about it. But of course, they're just like 5 screenshots. There's more to come, obviously, to E3. I'm hoping they put a sock in my mouth by making me wow with something that makes me go, oh my god, that is totally what I would call a sequel and, worth buying again. But if it's pretty much the same as what it was before, just with the Tanuki suit and like 2 other items, I'm not even gonna probably bother picking it up because it's just, like I said before, a case of deja vu for me. I barely made it halfway through New Super Mario Bros. Wii because it was practically the same thing to me. So,
Oh man, you missed out on a great game. I'll just say that right now.
It was pretty whatever. Unlike Super Mario 3D Land, that I literally played through until my eyes were bleeding from my head. Because that was truly original, in my opinion, and just something totally different. But just looking at this one, I'm just like, yawn, it looks to be more the same, which isn't a bad thing, it's Mario, more of the same is good. But it's like, let me use this for a comparison. Mario Galaxy 2 to Mario Galaxy 1. Okay, in Mario Galaxy 2, they reused some of the tracks from the original Mario Galaxy. Some of the themes were reused, but all in all, they had a bunch of new themes in there. The sky stages, everything was just, it didn't look, as strange as it sounds, as spacey did in the original. There's actually skies to the worlds.
Yeah.
The worlds were more flat and explorable. It's just a whole bunch of new stuff they put in there, and that made it feel like a sequel actually worth playing through, even though there's still some recycled stuff in the whole game in itself was not by critics, but by some users, panned for being, oh, it's just an expansion pack, it's Super Mario World 1.5. And that's the way I'm looking at New Super Mario Bros. 2. I'm actually looking at it as New Super Mario Bros. 1.2, because that's literally what it looks like. So I'm hoping when they have gameplay videos and announces features, as I said before, it blows me away with stuff that will, to me, make it worth playing through, because I just feel like if I was to get it as it feels to be as like the original, I'd be trudging through it and I'd probably stop by like the 3rd world. So that would be a disappointment. Once again, I'm still disappointed that what we got was the new Super Mario Bros. 2. I was expecting something more original, but oh well, just gotta wait for E3 to see what they decide to show off with it.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, there's only 4 screens, so we can't make a ton of judgment, but for me, more Mario platforming 2D goodness is definitely on my plate. I'll be getting it day one. Might even test out what our next thing that they're adding digital full retail games to their digital downloads. Might even download it from the shop and buy it retail just to try out the digital downloads. So I'm really excited for it. And our next point, digital downloads. They're gonna have full retail games, all the Nintendo first party titles. I'm sure some third parties will get up there too. Are you gonna be using this feature any? I know we're mainly been backers of physical copies over digital, but there's still some decent if they go on sale and whatnot, but you can usually find better deals for a physical copy, to be honest. So just what's your thoughts on them offering digital downloads?
I'm personally actually surprisingly very interested in it. Unlike with the Vita games being actually pretty massive in size and using proprietary memory cards that are really expensive, the 3DS supports SD cards, which you could easily get like a 32 gig for like $15 if you know where to buy it from. Um, so I'm actually really hyped about it. To be honest with you, if the execution is done really well and the game compression is good enough so, I can fit a decent chunk of games on a really large SD card. I might actually just go digital with it, surprisingly. Like you said before, I'm a huge backer of physical media. I hate buying stuff on that's strictly for PlayStation Network or any of that nonsense because I want the actual game to show off in my collection. But with a handheld, I can make a totally different exception because it's obviously a handheld. That makes it so much more portable, more comfortable that you don't have to be carrying around all those, cards for the games and stuff like that. It's right there on your memory card. Switch, jump in and out of them and stuff like that. So I'm pretty hyped. I'm just hoping Nintendo can pull it off right, even though, there's not really a way you can screw that up. And, of course, the other issue I have with digital downloads is I don't trust the online distributor. And what I mean by that is, how with Sony and Microsoft, games just randomly disappear from the marketplace for whatever reason. You can still download them from your list, but at the same time, they're just taking away this product that was widely available to everyone, and just out of whim. And it's just something that, what if by any chance they just take away the license from my account or anything like that? Because apparently, with all the new stuff now, it's, oh, well, you have the right to buy the license, but we can feel free to take it away from you, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Nintendo is not that kind of company. I'm confiding in them a lot. Like, with the Wii U, I think that's going to be the only next-gen system I'm going to support and actually buy, because Nintendo isn't power-hungry and money-hungry to just screw over all the consumers with anti-use games and all that shit. But I'm getting really off topic now, so I'm going back to the topic at hand. But yeah, I'm rambling like I usually do, but I have high hopes for it. If the execution is done well, I will actually be going digital with it. I'm just hoping that the price difference is there, not just like a measly $4 like the Vita games. Like, if a game's gonna be $40, I'd expect to pay $30 for it on there, because with all the materials they're not spending to make the games and stuff like that, I think that's a fair enough price for it.
And and the stores take a huge, piece of the money when you buy it from a store. So
exactly,
they're cutting out the middleman. So.
And another thing too is, as a lot of people who probably used Steam before know, they make huge sales on the games for holidays and stuff like that. And I really wish that Nintendo and Sony would participate in sales like that, where they're just literally slashing the price of games like 75% off and all this stuff. And that's really neat, because that actually causes me to buy a lot of games on Steam. And if Sony and Nintendo were to do that with their online shops, I would probably buy a lot more digital as well.
Definitely, and it's something we'll be covering in the upcoming months. All the digital download titles, and I'm really interested in it. I think I have it's either a 16 or 32 gigabyte SD card on my 3DS, and it has a bunch of space that isn't being used. So I'm definitely gonna try it out. They said that New Super Mario Bros. 2 will be the first one, so I'll probably download that.
Did they mention that they're gonna put some of the older titles on there? Like, do they plan to put all of them on there, or just like?
I have no clue. They haven't really specified.
Oh, okay.
So, moving on, Project X Zone had some footage shown at Nintendo Direct, and it looked gorgeous to me. And recently, via Famitsu, the Japanese gaming magazine, they revealed some new characters. Let's name them off. Alisa and Soma from God's Eater Burst. Leanne and Zephyr from man, I hate these words. Resonance of Fate. There ya. Hisinko from Darkstalkers. And Frank West, everybody's favorite photographer from Dead Rising. So Julian, with all the news, all the new characters and the footage, what do you think about Project X then?
It was certainly one of the biggest hype trains I've seen for the 3DS since Mega Man Legends 3.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, I know. Actually, a little off topic here, but Bring Me Off the Moon on Facebook actually reached 100,000 likes the other day.
Yeah, I saw that. So.
And now it's at like 123,000, so it's pretty legit. And also, the composer of the game said that they're going to be releasing music to the game, and that if it actually reaches a certain amount of buys, they're going to release the prototype version on the eShop. I will cover that later, but yeah, back to Project X Zone. The character list is certainly very interesting. I'm very excited to see that Mega Man hasn't totally been forgotten and replaced by some character using a skin of him. And I'm still interested to see how the game exactly plays out. From what they're saying, it's like some form of strategy RPG. It looks interesting. I feel really weird about it because I think I was expecting something a little more. I feel like it was a bit underwhelming. Having all these developers on it, I was expecting this really epic looking game, and it looks actually pretty small scale, so not too sure. Once again, it's had its first gameplay video and a bunch of scans from it, so not much to make a judgment off of that. So once again at E3, and another thing too is I don't want to get myself hyped up on it if it's not even confirmed to come out anywhere outside of Japan yet. And apparently the last game that was a crossover like that never made it.
Capcom never made it. It was
so,
a PS2 title.
I have a feeling that might happen to this, so that's why I'm not too worried about it. Until they come out at E3 and say, hey, by the way, this is coming over to the States, then I'll actually start to pay attention to it. But until I hear that, it's fallen off my radar until then.
I gotta say, like, a majority of the 3DS games I'm anticipating haven't been confirmed for America yet. It just seems like I'm constantly repeating, man, I really hope it comes for North America, and that's all I can really say about this game. Man, I really hope it comes for North America, because I would really like to play it. And the combat, it almost looked like a brawler, but it is like a SRPG, so very interesting to see how that'll play. And next up, we had some new footage of Mario Tennis Open at Nintendo Direct, and there was a review that just came out from Nintendo Power, right, Julian?
Yep. We've been given the review score that's been floating around, not the actual review, which I'm really interested to read, but Nintendo Power actually scored it at 7 out of 10. The highlights that were said about it, though, is that they said it was lacking content, and it just didn't feel like a complete game.
Yeah, it is missing the RPG mode, but I think just the inclusion of online play will actually help the content.
For sure. Which I feel like with it missing the RPG mode, that was a very big thing of the old games. That does take a lot of replayability away from it, because that was the meat of the single player, where you could just literally and I think it would have worked really well with this, with the inclusion of using your Mii character, playing through the story mode and leveling the character up and unlocking other stuff that way and whatnot. It would have worked really well.
Yeah.
I just feel like, unfortunately, the game was rushed. Just as Mario Kart 7 was missing out like a single player race mode and stuff like that, just to get it out there so that way people would start buying the 3DS more and stuff like that. I feel like that happened with this one as well. It got the short end of the stick just so it could get rushed out. which is really unfortunate. I just hope, seeing that they brought this back, that with Mario Golf, they decide to give it more attention and a more broader single player campaign. But I'm still gonna get Mario Tennis Open. It's, just because it's missing the RPG mode doesn't mean it makes it a terrible game. It looks fantastic. I love the way it looks like it handles. The courts look really good. And of course the online play is gonna be killer. I've never really had anyone to play the previous Mario Tennis games before with, so I'll be pretty psyched to play other people online in that.
Yeah, I'll be psyched to whoop your ass in it, and
You keep dreaming about that, buddy. I don't think you'll ever be able to beat me in that.
it's gonna happen, and it really seems like a console version instead of the handhelds, because it's the Mario Tennis 64 and the GameCube one, they didn't have the RPGs in it, and I don't think it would be such a big deal if Nintendo didn't really they limit themselves for their sports games to one per console,
Yeah.
They don't get multiple iterations. And that kind of bums me because I wouldn't mind having another Mario Kart in 2 or 3 more years for the 3DS.
But to be honest with you, you never know. They've been trying a lot of new stuff, as with releasing Super Mario Galaxy 2 on the Wii. A lot of people did not expect that, as, oh my god, they never released 2 full-blown Mario games at once on, the current gen system. So, they might surprise you. I feel like Mario 3D Land and Mario Kart 7 came really early into 3DS's lifespan, and the lifespan for these things is 7 to 8 years. So I say hold your breath. Something will probably come in the future. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more Mario games. I'm not sure if we're gonna get another Mario Kart, but I mean, if we do, that's awesome. If we don't, we still have a great Mario Kart game, because Mario Kart 7's awesome.
Yep.
I'll definitely replay that for years to come.
And speaking of the sports games, it'd actually be pretty fantastic if they released Mario Strikers for the 3DS.
Or baseball. Just put them all in there. I'll buy them.
Just don't put them all together like Mario Sports Mix. I thought that was a terrible compilation.
I haven't played it.
I played it, and it was pretty bad. Do you remember the Mario Volleyball game for Mario Party 4?
Yeah.
Literally, they took the ice hockey game from Mario Party 5, and a half-assed dodgeball game, threw in a few courts for each one, threw it into a compilation, and called it a game. It was terrible. Oh yeah, and of course basketball. They just took an over-glorified Mario Hoops 3-on-3 from the 3DS, from the DS, and put it on there. So that was that. I think Mario Strikers with the full-blown online mode for the 3DS would sell really, really well.
Oh, definitely. And I've enjoyed the Mario baseball games a lot.
Yeah,
and
I love those as well.
I definitely enjoyed the GameCube versions of those two games more than their Wii counterparts.
Yes, I agree.
And one thing I think that will help them is the 3DS. I don't think it's going to rely on any motion control gimmicks or anything. And so I think that will definitely help the game. So
yeah, for sure. That's what pretty much ruined them for me in the Wii iterations. It's just so much emphasis on motion control, which is just, I really hate when they do that with new consoles, is that they focus it so much on something, they forget how to make the game fun, and they ruin the functionality with that.
Yeah, so I'm sure they will get announced down the line, and when they do, I'll be ecstatic. And moving on, we have some new information on one of our most anticipated 3DS titles, developed by InSpace, Roller Coaster Tycoon. Apparently, it got reviewed by Nintendo Power, and Julian has some details on that.
Along with the the new Mario Tennis review that was released, alongside one of the other scores was Roller Coaster Tycoon 3D, which was very painful to see because it scored a 5.5 out of 10. The highlights in the review included that the sandbox mode was extremely disappointing and lackluster, and that the story barely did enough to keep you occupied. That really worries me because that pretty much confirms the worst fears I've had for this game since the very beginning. Those of you who've played Roller Coaster Tycoon know it's a very massive game. Even then, it doesn't really have to be massive with thousands of rides in the park. You know, it could be like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 actually felt more smaller scale than the previous games, but yeah, apparently the problem is that you can't place that many rides in and whatnot. I figured as much that would happen. The 3DS can only do so much, especially just consider the fact of all the calculations that are going on in your park. The game, of course, from what we've seen in the screenshots, uses full 3D polygons. Um, just what the engine is doing, the calculations of, guest thoughts, generating all of that, all the movement from the rides in the park. There's actually an interesting screenshot that I've seen where it's nighttime. Maybe there's a day-night cycle. That'd be pretty neat. And just all that stuff that's going on in your park is really taxing on, the 3DS's hardware. Unlike a computer that has as much power as as the processor can give it, the 3DS can only do so much. So I'm really worried with the functionality that the game gives you. Also another very important thing that I just remembered. They also mentioned that the interface was pretty bad. Of course, the magazine still hasn't been released yet. I've been itching for it to get released so I can actually read the full review on it. That's the closest as we'll get to any new information on the game, because Atari has been pretty terrible at advertising the game. They literally released one CGI trailer for it, like 6 screenshots, and that is it, ever since they announced it August of last year.
Well, Atari really hasn't done a good job, really advertising any of their platforms recently, so.
And they haven't, but what's strange is that I want to consider Tycoon part of this category, but the last classical remake they had, which was Centipede Infestation on the Wii and the 3DS, that was by Way Forward, it actually had a pretty big marketing campaign behind it. They literally released like a new trailer every week showcasing new bugs, new weapons, all that kind of stuff, teasers and stuff, and this game has literally gotten no love. I don't know if it's because Atari's like, oh, it's Roller Coaster Tycoon, it literally needs no advertising because it'll ride on its own hype. Because if that's the case, they're really retarded, because a lot of people don't know what to think of this, and with the low review score it just got, it's going to scare a lot of people away, and I feel like the game is actually going to perform very poorly. Because I honestly think if they wanted to revive the Tycoon franchise that bad, they should have just released one on the PC and then release a spin-off on the 3DS, so that way they got that hype train built, and then they can just build off of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't even know this game's coming out for 3DS, to be honest.
Yeah, and those that do know are actually very angry about it. What I'm worried about is that this is going to put a stain on InSpace's record. A lot of people actually, strangely enough, when I was reading on forums about, the review scores we got, that people say InSpace makes shitty games. I honestly don't think so. I really enjoyed their Call of Duty releases on the DS. But I feel like this is going to give them a bad name if it's really as poorly designed as what's pretty much implied through the previews. I really don't want that to be the case, because InSpace is a really good developer for the DS. And them being confided with a huge franchise like Roller Coaster Tycoon, I'm scared that other franchises and licensing stuff will be scared to hand anything off to them because how poorly it performed and sold. So I just really hope Atari steps their game up with advertising it. Literally, there's I believe about 3 weeks left before the game is even released, and there's not even any news about it at all from the actual publisher or the developers. So I feel like this game is just gonna slowly land on the shelves and not go anywhere because no one's gonna know it even exists. And those that do know that it exists are not gonna be willing to pay full retail price because they don't know what to expect except for that it's gotten a low score so far. So I'm really worried about that. But I have my fingers crossed that they were just being picky but it is Nintendo Power, and they are pretty lenient with their scores, so it must have been pretty bad. But of course, there's only one way to find out, and that's by actually playing it.
And I don't in the long run, I don't think it's really gonna affect how In Space is viewed, because they do have a high profile release in Heroes of Ruin coming up. So I think if Heroes of Ruin does well review wise, that will matter so much more than this game if it does get bad reviews. So I just think it really doesn't really matter because it's gonna get overshadowed, like In Space developer wise, and simulations might just not be their forte for when it comes to games. As you said, they did a lot of first person shooters for the DS, so maybe they just aren't good at roller coaster simulators. So I don't think it's going to really affect them that huge from that viewpoint.
I just think that no, I probably exaggerated with the developer parts. I guess it's just more along the players, especially those that were actually anticipating the game. They might destroy a bit of their fan base the Roller Coaster Tycoon fan base when they see pretty much how if quote unquote if the game actually does come out really bad. Once again, I just have this thought in the back of my mind that it was just the score was just exaggerated. I could only hope so that the person was maybe an elitist of the Tycoon series and was angry that the game was put on the DS and with the limitations that it has and decided to spite it. I mean, you never know. So it's just something that I have to play for myself before I make the final judgment on it.
Yeah, definitely. And you were speaking about like console limitations, and I really wanted to speak about this. This is kind of like off topic, but Jim Sterling on Destructoid had a wonderful editorial about how Xenoblade Chronicles, like how like so many people have complained about the graphics and how the Wii was holding it back. But he said he made a compelling case where because of the limitations of the Wii, that developers were given they had to focus on the core gameplay. They didn't have to waste a ton of money. Like graphics take up so much of a budget, it's not even funny. And
Yes,
they can just focus on the gameplay. And you're not getting such epic Japanese RPGs like we were on like a generation ago. Because they have to spend so much money. Like, look at Final Fantasy 13. It was really
2 years to make the engine.
Yeah, and it was really you couldn't really explore. It was very linear, and that's because it just cost so much money. And he pretty much is saying how because they have to have a smaller budget for the Wii games, they can just go all out on the they can make what they want to make without having to spend a ton of money. And pretty much at the end, this is how I'm gonna put it into the 3DS perspective. He says that the 3DS and the Vita, it's really gonna be where after, all the Wii U is gonna be high def, everything's gonna be, the graphic crazy. And it's really gonna thrive on handhelds. Like these experiences. If they're gonna get done, they're gonna get done on handhelds. So if we are gonna get some more epic, vast JRPGs, it's not going to be on the HD, because not everybody has the money as a Square to spend that kind of crazy money on a game. Because Squaresoft can do that, because Final Fantasy will recoup the costs, because they sell a ton, so they can go all out, but not many more developers can. Because how many times do you see a developer make a AAA title and then close, like soon after, or lay off a ton of people because they just spent way too much money, and they expect like Call of Duty type returns from it, and it's just not going to happen for every game. And so like I think the handheld market, this is what he says, the handheld market will truly become their only sanctuary, at least until the development gets significantly cheaper, and I don't see that happening anytime soon, not with modern technology consistently pushing the goalposts back. I agree completely. You can read the full post at Destructoid.com. It's titled Why Xenoblade Chronicles Had to Look Like Shit. It's the best read I've seen in quite a while. Any thoughts on that, Julian, about how the Wii has actually helped some games like the smaller studios been able to put out great games without having to invest millions of dollars.
Yeah, I feel very strongly on the subject. I'm not a graphics whore. I'm totally not. I thought I used to be, but I've really come to enjoy my Wii because the games that are on it are just pure entertainment. They're fun. I've realized when I play Wii, I'm not nitpicky on graphics as I am when I play PlayStation 3. I'll go from like one game to another and just wonder about why this game looks more washed out and low polygon or whatever, some other bullshit. But, when I play Wii games, I know I'm not going to be expecting high definition graphics and all the latest shaders and whatnot, and I just get into the game and enjoy it. And going on with the handhelds part, I'm going to go ahead and add in some more detail about Roller Coaster Tycoon in there. And that's one thing I wish InSpace would have realized, is that graphics don't make everything. They did not have to make the game in 3D. Like I stated before, the original screenshot for the game, it was in 2D sprite style, similar to the originals. And if they would have stuck to that style, I'm pretty sure you could do wonders in sandbox mode with how big your park could be and everything. Because the DS would be able to do it, because if it could handle theme park on the original DS perfectly fine the way it did, I'm totally sure the 3DS could have done the same thing with Tycoon 3D. But no, they decided to focus on, oh no, it has to be 3D and all this other bullshit and whatnot, and the game apparently had to suffer from it. Not to mention, I am not going to lie, the graphics do look, this is where my graphics war comes in, the graphics do look pretty terrible. I would have rather had it in 2D, where I know a lot more power could have been put towards the amount of stuff that's going into your park. But yeah, to me, graphics don't make everything. That's why, like I said before, the Wii U is going to be my console of choice to have for next generation, because there's all these rumors about, how it's going to be the same as the PS3, or, it's going to be twice as powerful. Whatever it is, I just know that the games I play on it are going to be fun.
Yeah, plus, I'm totally fine if it's just as powerful as the PS3. I'm fine with that. I don't need any, like, the PS3 and 360 right now, I'm fine graphic-wise.
Yeah, I'm content. If I want photorealistic graphics, that's what I have my computer for. It can do that, but I prefer to play on consoles, so that's fine. And that's why, for all the other exclusives that the Wii U won't get, you know what, I'll just get it for my PC. I really don't care. But, yeah, it's just, the graphics aren't good, so what, whatever. Just as long as the game's fun, I don't really care. I'm trying to think of a good example here. It's all functionality and controls as well. I know with first-person shooters, I actually do enjoy playing them on the Wii more because of the more precise controls and whatnot. And they do take a big graphical hit from, the PS3 and 360 counterparts, such as the Call of Duty games. I actually enjoyed World at War a lot more on my Wii than on the PS3 because I just felt a lot more engaged in it.
Plus, let's be honest, they don't look that bad on the Wii, to be honest.
They just look pretty whatever. They don't look like shit. Like, even the Call of Duties on the DS that InSpace made, they look like shit, but you know what? They're the damn funnest FPS games I've played on a handheld. And it's like another one would be Sonic Colors. That's another great example. Sure, it's not beautiful like Sonic Generations or Sonic Unleashed, but you know what? It is extremely fun, and it's one of my favorite Sonic games. Even though it's not half as good looking as the other ones, you know what? I really don't care. I'm just busy enjoying the game for what it is. I'm not just gonna sit there, the graphics suck. This sucks. I'm not gonna play it. No, that's not what video games are about. And it's like, another thing too is, I know it's a subjective thing for a lot of people to use the first party Nintendo titles because they're like, those are always scoring high and whatnot. But it's another example too. Games like Zelda Twilight Princess that have a very unique art style and whatnot, they can still look just as good as games on other consoles. It's all in the art style and the execution. And like Kirby's Epic Yarn, looks absolutely beautiful for a game that's on the Wii. You can see like all the little tiny strands of string going together as you look into the models. And well, not the models, but into all the sprites and stuff like that. It just looks really good. It's just something that depends on the type of art style they use, that, you know, how good the game looks. But once again, the development costs and stuff like that. There's been another article about that the Wii U might actually be the more preferable console to develop for, because if it really isn't as powerful as everything else, it'd actually be the cheaper alternative for them to make games on. Because the more games progress, it's very, like you said, it's very expensive, very time consuming, and in the end, is it going to be worth it for the developers if the game bombs? And that's what's been causing a lot of studios to shut down, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, it doesn't even have to bomb. Even if it's successful, it has to be so successful to recoup the costs, you know?
Yeah, if they don't make the money back from what it costs to produce it, even if it gets good reviews, the series is usually dead, and from the disturbing trend going on now, the development studio goes with it. Which, is killing a lot of creativity out there, because there's so many amazing series that have disappeared because of this. Just the fear of the consumers not wanting what's hot in the market. Such a good example would be the Time Splitters franchise. Supposedly Crytek says there's not a market out there for this game, so we're not going to let them finish Time Splitters 4. Well, there's a pretty big fan base out there for the game, but you know what? They're probably playing smart, because apparently all the craze right now is these quote-unquote hardcore military realistic shooters. Who would give a shit where you play a game running around as a gingerbread man with like a plasma auto rifle and whatnot. I mean, I damn sure would love to play a game like that, but is that really what the people out there want? And that would, be a big loss for them and stuff like that. So from a business perspective, you can really see where they're coming from. But back on like the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox days and beforehand, there were so many games that came out that were unexpected and just different, that doesn't really exist now, because like I said before, they're just so worried about what the consumer wants, and all they want right now are shooters. And that's pretty much what we're getting. Okay, I like my share of shooters, but I can only play so many games where I'm killing people with an AK-47. Let's get a little bit more original there.
I'm not even sure if we really want that many shooters. I think it's just lazy developers and publishers seeing how successful Call of Duty is, and then just throwing out more FPSs. I'm not sure.
And using the same engines too, which is quite sad.
I'm not really seeing like a ton of FPSs, like other than the main ones really selling a ton. Like I'm not. I don't really think there is this huge demand. I think Call of Duty got popular because the online's a blast to play, and casuals enjoy it, and so do hardcores. And I think they're just oversaturating the market, and I don't really think the market's there for it.
Yeah, and I think more games, the type of games we need more of are BioShock Infinite. That's the kind of first-person shooter I really enjoy playing. Something that's unique. It's different. It's not shit I could probably watch on the TV from terrorist attacks. No, it's totally different. That's why I play video games, to get immersed in a creative world that's different than our own. And it just goes by the old jingle that Sony had for PlayStation, live in yours, play in ours. And that's what I really enjoyed about playing the original BioShock. Another game, too, is XCOM. It's another first-person shooter by the people who made BioShock 2. It's actually been put on hold, which is really sad. But it was about these really weird-looking aliens with contemporary and sci-fi looking weaponry and like this classic 60s settings. That was really unique. Borderlands 2, once again, another very unique type game that I'm pretty psyched for. And then another one that's actually it's similar to the style of Call of Duty, but actually different, Homefront. bombed on release because it did not live up to multiplayer expectations, but the single player was absolutely incredible for the storyline it had of being out in the future, but not like laser type future. It's just basic future where like Korea joins forces and comes, it's just destroying everything in America, slaving Americans and stuff like that. It was really unique concept. The story was incredible. I loved it. They're making a sequel to it, so I'm pretty psyched for that. But, I could only play Battlefield so many times. I could only play another Call of Duty so many times. It's just all about all these fictional wars as these super secret agents or operatives or whatever do. It's just a bunch of bullshit that I'm getting real tired of. And it's like when I got Tales of the Abyss for the 3DS, it was joy to me. I almost forgot what a JRPG was because I've gotten so engulfed in this whole first-person shooter craze going on right now. And, I've just been going crazy playing RPGs right now. And, and because of all this, platformers have fallen off the map too. That's my most favorite genre, and it's really sad to see a lot of platformers just disappear. Pretty much what you can mainly get now is just like Sonic, Little Big Planet, and obviously Mario and stuff like that on Nintendo systems. But, old school like Crash games, Spyro, and stuff like that, it doesn't exist anymore. So,
and if you are looking for like an old school type platformer, Skylanders for the 3DS is like a retro like PS1 era platformer. It's actually really good.
I've been looking into getting the PS3 and 3DS versions because I am not going to lie, they actually look pretty legit. I was pretty, I thought the original idea was pretty repulsive, but the more I looked at it actually seems very appealing to a certain degree. So
and some of the toys are badass, and my little like 8-year-old inside of me really likes the toys.
I just really wish that the other figures would just be available as DLC as well. So I could just download that shit instead of just having to keep putting some toy on some portal of power and whatnot. But yeah, that's just the general gist of the gaming industry right now. It's just, I feel like next generation is going to get so cluttered, it might actually go into a crash. And a lot of people don't think so, but with how paranoid developers and publishers are becoming, and how they're going DLC crazy and whatnot, I really feel like there's going to be a crash.
And look how much money Sony's been losing. They lost like $4 billion.
Yeah,
in the last year.
The economy is really showing in that too. People just don't want to pay that much money for this type of stuff anymore. Video games, yes, they have gotten a lot bigger since the GameCube days and stuff like that, but people are just not looking. They're not looking to dish out $400 on some new. Not even like 400. Well, actually, yeah, 400 or more on a new console, just to play the latest games. Especially parents and stuff like that. And me myself, as I'm getting more responsibilities of paying more bills and stuff like that. That's another reason I'm just gonna be done next generation. Besides the Wii U, because it's not worth it. Games are getting more expensive. Right now this year they've jumped up to $60. And getting closer to the end of this generation, most of these games aren't even complete because they're being sold as DLC. And next generation, I fear they're going to probably go up to $65 to $70. And that's just, no. I refuse to pay nearly a day and a half worth of work for a video game. That's ridiculous. No, I refuse to do so, so.
Yeah, and, I gotta say, I've been looking into it, and like, if you just get one like console, even if you just got the Wii and then get a PS3 or the 360, if you were getting like the major releases for it, you still would have been perfectly fine for the entire generation. Like, people complain about the Wii's lack of content, but if you look at all the games released, you had more than enough games. Like, I was doing this for the 3DS for like pretty much the whole year. Like, just getting, like, the major releases. And I have a ton of games. And all good quality. And, you can just have one console. And I think I might just get Wii U as well, too. I mean, I love my 360. I love my PS3. But I just I just don't think they're gonna offer as much. I think I might just go Wii U, just like you're saying.
Yeah, I totally agree. Right now, my console of choice is my PS3. I have 60 games for my PS3 right now, and I'm still continually getting more because pretty much I find the PS3 to be the perfect balance between all the consoles for me because it has its own personal exclusives that I really enjoy, plus most of the major multiplats. But with the Wii U, I'm just mainly interested in the first parties. I'll be dead honest. As I've told you before, Tyler, there come those moments where I'm like, you know what, fuck Nintendo. I'm tired of their shit about making weak consoles and whatnot, but I always come crawling back to play the new Mario or to play the new Kirby or the new something. As much as I think I can get away from them, I just can't. And, I'm just gonna get Wii U strictly to pay first party games and whatever else comes on it, it's gonna be a bonus thing for me. Oh, Darksiders 2 is gonna come out for it. Sweet, I'll get that. New Medal of Honor Warfighter is gonna come out for it. Sweet, I'll get that too. New Call of Duty doesn't come out for it. Oh, well, I guess I'll be missing out on that. Don't really care. So, just as I'm getting my fix of first party games, I'm good. Especially with like Pikmin 3 coming out. All these new F-Zero speculation things that are popping up. The inevitable new Mario parties, new Mario sports games, Mario adventure games, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, all that good stuff. Zelda, just as long as I get all that, I'm pretty content with gaming as the future goes, especially considering how, I guess the best way to say it is how the other companies are starting to turn into Nazis about what you can do with your consoles and stuff like that. And how there's all these rumors that they're going to block used games and all this other crap and constant internet connection and I don't want to deal with that. I just want to pop, if I'm going to deal with that, I'll just stick to PC gaming. I just want to pop the fucking game in my console, play it without any worries, and call it a day. I don't want to have to be connected to the internet. I don't want to have to deal with DRM or, I can trust Nintendo not to go DLC crazy with their first party titles. I don't have to worry about, oh, you can buy a new set of 4 characters for Super Smash Brothers, $10 a piece. Well, that's going to be fantastic. No, I don't have to deal with that. So, like I said, I have a lot of faith in Nintendo that they will let me down. So I'll totally be sticking side by side with them next generation.
Yeah, and that leads me to one final thought on my point. I just find out if you do have all 3 systems, so many games come out that you don't really enjoy them. You're just trying to like finish it to get to the next one you have to play. Because I mean, I miss the days where I'd play a game, I'd beat it over and over again, and I'd just keep exploring and finding out new things about it. It seems like now I just play a game to get done with it.
I totally agree. Like right now, I just said I have 60 PS3 games. I will be dead honest with you. My backlog is all over the place, and it's the worst. As you can probably tell, I'm very compulsive when it comes to buying. I lurk cheap ass gamer a lot, so every time, like right now, I just got Final Fantasy 13 2 for $20. They had a sale on GameFly for it, and I bought that on the spot. $20 can't beat that price. So I went ahead and get that with a whole bunch of other stuff. And there's games I haven't even actually touched yet. And it's just the games that I am playing through, like right now I'm very deep into Oblivion. I'm trying so hard not to rush through it. I want to enjoy the experience. I want to, go through everything and take my time. But at the same time, I'm slightly rushing through it just so I can be like, okay, now I have the time to play this, so I can try to beat that. And it's actually, when you have all 3 consoles, like I used to own an Xbox 360 as well, you're just kind of like, why do I own all 3 consoles? Because you come to realize it's a stupid thing. You buy all those games and exclusives, unless you're still in, high school and you don't have a job or anything like that, you just don't have the time for it, and you realize that it's the biggest waste of money you could ever do.
Yeah, and just one more final 3DS game I want to talk about, and that is Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, and it's a part of the Shin Megami Tensei series from Atlas, and it's a remake of a 15-year-old Sega Saturn game. they're enhancing it a lot. It's going to have smoother animation, a new opening from the studio Starlight, or Satelight. It's going to have full voice acting, which I really enjoyed their voice acting in Devil Survivor Overclocked, so I'm looking forward to that. And it's going to have quicker load times, and the game just looks gorgeous. We have some scans I've seen, and I'm really interested in the game, and it looks like a great RPG. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Unfortunately I don't. I've tried the Tensei games before, and they're really not my style of RPGs.
Too much grinding, or?
Yeah, the grinding really kills me.
Yeah, I'm kind of weird. I don't really mind grinding. Like, well, at least I do for console games, but like for a handheld game, I don't really mind it because I'll just be on the couch watching TV.
Yeah.
But like for a console game, if I have to grind, no, because I just don't have the time. And I guess that pretty much wraps up the episode. Any final thoughts, Julian?
Not really. There's been a lot of rumors that there's a lot of unannounced 3DS games, so I'm hoping to hear about those at E3. I'm actually have my fingers crossed to hear about a possible Mario Party for the 3DS, and there's this part deep inside my heart that I really hope Capcom does something about Mega Man Legends 3. Even if it's just releasing the prototype version and everyone buys it up and they're like, hey, look, people are actually buying it. Maybe we should actually make the full game. Maybe I'm setting my hopes too high. We'll see, but I have my fingers crossed.
Yeah, I just want Ace Attorney Investigations too. Do it, Capcom. Okay, we hope you enjoyed the podcast. This is Tyler, and for Julian, we are out.
See ya.
This has been a presentation of Hard Reset, your last resort for gaming analysis.